Welcome, everybody. In this episode of UAC Best Practices, we're talking with Dr. Jay Greenstein. He's out of Washington, D.C., and just an amazing guy. We're coming off an event that he just hosted. So we're talking about events today. And if you've ever been inspired to host an event, you're going to get some insights. We're also talking about one of Jay's passions, which is AI. Where's the signal? Where's the noise for the practicing chiropractor? And before we jump in today, this episode is brought to you by Clinic Mind. As a chiropractor, you know how important it is to have the right system supporting your growth. That's why UAC recommends Clinic Mind. This all-in-one cloud-based platform brings together scheduling, documentation, billing, and patient engagement into one seamless system. With built-in automation and AI-driven tools, Clinic Mind helps your team stay focused, efficient, and fully aligned as you grow and scale. If you're interested, visit clinicmind.com to learn more or schedule a demo, and make sure to mention UAC when you do so. Thank you, Clinic Mind, for sponsoring the episode. Let's jump in.
Hey everyone, welcome to the UAC, that's Ultimate Achiever Club, Best Practices podcast. We hope that you hear a little bit from one of our guests, one of our members at Ultimate Achievers Club, learn a little something that you can apply to your life or your practice right away and get a big impact. I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, Alan Miner, who's going to introduce our guest.
Thanks, Cap. Brian, when did you first meet Jay?
Ooh, Jay, well, I don't know the year, but it was probably 12, 13 years ago, maybe.
It was like 2000, 2013, I think, yeah.
Yeah, another UAC member who's, oh my gosh, his name is escaping me. Do you remember?
It was Doug Miller, wasn't it?
Doug Miller.
Yeah.
Doug Miller introduced me to Jay, and we jumped on a call and talking about technology, and Jay heard cloud and AI, and it was love at AI. That was it.
I laughed, Brian. A picture came up on my Facebook of like 15 years ago in Napa. You look like Don Draper. I had to laugh. Spinning image. But I don't know how long ago, but I always feel like for 3 or 4 years, Brian was like, there's this guy, Jay, who needs to be in UAC. Jay, you got to meet Jay. And I heard about Jay for years before I got to meet him. And so I'm in an accountability group through UAC with Jay. That's a big part of UAC is we have accountability groups. And, we call it our $100,000 hour a couple times a month, and we got some neat people on that line. But what I want to talk about with you today, Jay, because I know a lot of chiropractors think about this, they aspire to it. I want to talk about events. And I just got to come out and speak at an event that's, I think, the third or fourth year in a row you've been doing it. And we have to host, we host 2 big events a year for UAC and 3 smaller events. And hosting events is an animal I don't think we've ever talked about on this podcast. And I watched you navigate that and put it on, and you did a really masterful job at it. And I thought, that's something we never talked about. Is I bet a lot of chiropractors inspire, like, what if I could host an event around something? And to watch you do it, execute on it at a very high level, to watch you build this tribe, I think we need to talk about it today. So starting point, I think, is when was the first idea born to do an event, and how has that evolved over the years, and how's it evolved to serve your personal brand, your clinics, your EMBODi brand, you do a lot of things. So but give us kind of the origin story of how did you first even decide to take a swing at doing an event? Because that's not a small thing to bite off.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I love speaking. I get the opportunity to speak, on stages around the world, which is a blast for me because I love chiropractic and I love talking about the things that interest us and help to move the profession forward. And I was at a Salesforce conference, Alan, and I don't know if you guys ever been to a Salesforce conference, but it's insane. I mean, the energy at this conference is just incredible. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I would love to do this one day where I'm putting on a conference for our users. And we had a very, very young technology company at the time with our first product, Canvas. And I just thought to myself, like, God, this would be an amazing thing to be able to do. Fast forward a few years, we decided like we were just going to take the plunge and do a live event. And let me tell you, it was a great experience. First of all, we had great speakers. I don't know if you guys know Joey Coleman, the guy who wrote the book, Never Lose a Customer Again, Never Lose an Employee Again.
Yeah.
World-class speaker. I'm blessed to have him as one of my really close friends. And he honored us, to speak at the event. He was like the keynote. But it was at the shittiest hotel. And like in the middle of his presentation, like the music started playing randomly. It's like the fire alarm's going off. The parking like valet wasn't there and everybody pulled up. It was a disaster. But what was cool about it is that, to your point about Tribe, Alan, it was like, okay, we're starting to build this community where people who really love chiropractic, who really love business, who want to aspire to be great entrepreneurs and create impact in the world, this is a place for them to come. So that
Yeah.
was our first year and it was great, but it takes it took and it does take, and you guys both know this, so much more work than what most people think. Like people come to an event, they're like, "Oh, this is great. The food's great. The speakers are great. The room is great." But it's like there is so much to manage. Everything from the contracts to, again, the food, the AV, negotiating all those contracts, marketing, marketing, marketing. You mentioned our accountability group, Alan. Like, Elise has put on these events, and she's a masterful marketer, and she knows how to get people in the room. Well, I'm not nearly as good at that, so there's a lot of work for us, not being as knowledgeable, to try and get butts in seats. So it's a lot of work, but when you're doing it that day, it's amazing. And I know I ramble, so I'll just say this one last thing. It was really my team that made that event happen. Like I just kind of showed up and got to hang out with my friends and, do my presentation and see people that I love. But my team, just amazing. Just the way that they thought about creating an experience. It was all them. So it was all Jenna and all Banal. They did a phenomenal job.
It
What's
was
your
awesome
vision
event.
for that? Like
Thanks, buddy.
what's the vision and Brian and I both got to be vendors there, me with Car Matchmakers and
Yeah.
Brian with Clinic Mind. And, but what's the, 5 years down the road, this thing, what's the dream and what's the impact you're trying to have in the profession that's maybe different from other events that happen?
Yeah, for me, it's about the intersection of technology and chiropractic. I love tech. I think there's so much for chiropractors to learn and experience as it relates to tech, especially now with all the things that are rapidly happening with AI and even how like Clinic Mind is changing and seeing those things evolve and creating even easier and greater experiences for providers. So I really believe that helping chiropractors adopt technology in ways that are really meaningful, not just, to use your words, Alan, just kind of going down the rabbit hole, but are they really making more money? Is it really making a big difference in their practice? I really want to be able to help chiropractors transform where it is meaningful and it is making a difference for their practices. So that's really the goal. Ultimately, I want to do it where it's not just in Washington, D.C. D.C. is a cool place, but I love to travel. So I'd love to move this around, not just the country, but around the world. And just like, let's go to freaking Greece and have the conference there. Or, let's go to South Africa or wherever. And just find really cool destinations where people can experience not just camaraderie and how to use technology and the love of chiropractic, but also just create unique experiences, kind of similar to what UAC does with their events as well, going to different places.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
we're blessed to have Krista and Alan. It's a lot. Alan and Krista just knock it out. Even that said, we still have to meet about it and talk about it, and just to put these events on is crazy. And Krista and Alan just pull it off every single time. So
Oh, thanks,
we're
Brian.
lucky
Yeah,
to.
well, I have an appreciation for what Jay was doing behind the scenes. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So Jay, here's my question, because you are, for those maybe not familiar with you, give a little background. You're a multi-clinic owner. You also have created an app. You're doing a lot in AI, and I know there's probably a handful of people, but in my mind, you were kind of the first person that just kind of embraced AI and tried to bring it to the profession. So I want to hear two things, a little background just so people know how you landed here. But
Sure.
what are you said it today, summer of 2026. What are one or two things in AI that you see are absolutely making money for chiropractors or making their life easier, or like because there's a lot of noise and not a lot of signal with AI, but I know if anybody's detected, here's a signal, so I'd love to hear you so give a little bit of your background, and then what do you see for our listeners is something that absolutely signal in this world of AI right now that can really help a practice?
I think those that are implementing AI are definitely finding ways to make their lives easier, and that runs across all the operational elements of the business, from marketing to finance to even I would even argue in a strong way, and I talk about this a lot. HR. How do we manage our talent? How do we train people? Like, I brought on 2 new interns from the University of Maryland. Actually, one was from Maryland, one was from James Madison, and I vibe coded this entire training program in about an hour that now I can then replicate over and over and over again. That will ultimately make, one, my life easier. I don't have to like use and follow training documents or a Word document. I have a system now that tracks it all. And I will generate revenue because these folks will go out into the field and sell Kaizo Health, which is, my multi-location chiropractic practice. But to answer your question specifically, Alan, I really do believe that AI is making people's lives easier when they implement it for very specific use cases, especially around repetitive tasks. Those tasks that people don't really need to be doing, not high level tasks, but more low level repetitive tasks. I think that's where AI is making people's lives easier. And I think documentation, and Brian, you could even speak to this better than I could, the use of AI to scribe essentially the documentation. I know that we're already here, actually. We're at a place where doctors don't have to literally type on their computers to get their notes done, and they're not going to be doing their notes at 9 o'clock at night, which is a pain point for my providers. Like, I train them to do their notes as they go along, but even still, sometimes they can't. So I feel like AI is definitely going to make everybody's life easier as it relates to like the EHR and documentation. When it comes to like being that first billion-dollar company with like the solopreneur because they've nailed it, I haven't seen that in chiropractic yet. Even the multi-million dollar company, I've not seen that. I have not done it. Maybe one day I will, but I have not seen of like this incredible revenue generation from an AI product. There's lots of people selling that AI arbitrage. I see that all the time, and people are probably making money at that. But I'm looking forward to finding ways myself to create value as I apply AI tools and resources to my own practices and also to EMBODi.
Jay, talk a little bit about, because we did meet all those years ago,
Yeah.
and I'll credit you for the vision of research, not just the vision, the passion for research. And since we're talking about AI, let's talk about, please talk about how you see AI really leveling the playing field for this profession, considering it's relatively small, underfunded,
Yeah.
undermanned, womaned. So I don't think enough people know about what your vision was for the data lake and all that, and I think it's really important that they start to understand that.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate you bringing that up, Bryce. So, for those of you who don't know, the profession actually has a strategic plan. So, if you go to chiropracticfuture.org, you can read all about the history of the plan, the data behind the plan, and what are the strategic goals that we are now executing in order to move the profession forward. And we know that. We know a few things. One, reimbursement is a huge pain point for providers that are dealing with insurance. Two, there's a lot of research out there on neck and low back pain, but not a lot of research out there with other areas that chiropractors influence in terms of overall public health, which is what I'm really excited about. I don't need to see another freaking paper on how
Really, Jay?
chiropractic helps neck and low back pain. Like, I don't need to see it anymore. I'm really interested in public health. And so, anyway, as part of the plan, the research work group and what's called the Chirotech Consortium, which Brian, you're a part of, which is the technology companies in chiropractic that are part of a work group, we got together and said, how do we actually create research at scale? And Heidi Havik is the chair of the research work group. We all know her brilliance, and other great researchers like Nate Shalati and Katie Pullman have served as well. And so we came together and we said, okay, we're going to build what's called a data lake. It's named the DASH, the Data Aggregation System for Health. And so what we've done is we've built a data lake where we can aggregate data from EHRs, from clearinghouses, from mobile apps, from other health platforms, and all that data goes into one decentralized system. Also, the data is de-identified, so it's HIPAA secure, it's HIPAA safe. Where then researchers like Katie or even novices like myself can go in, use AI to query the data, get a pilot with the statistical analysis built in. And if that data is giving us what we need in terms of answering a research question, we can query the entire data lake. So imagine how many chiropractic visits are there, how many data points surround a chiropractic visit every single time a patient enters in and gets treated by a chiropractor. Billions and billions of data points that we can then leverage to demonstrate the value that we create for the system. How do we use that data? I think first and foremost, we use it to educate the public. Secondarily, we use it to educate policymakers and legislators. Like, we've got to fix what's happening in the way that we are treated as a healthcare discipline in this country and around the world. And especially where chiropractic's not even regulated in some countries, or you've got these people that are quote unquote chiropractors that have never gone to chiropractic school. We got to stop that. So using the data and the evidence around the data that we're collecting and building it in ways where AI is being leveraged will be transformational for this profession.
Yeah. Just to put a bow on that, I mean, literally 2-3 years ago, you would be dependent on a researcher and their team to run a query and spreadsheets and try to mangle this thing together. And literally, like Jay said, that's basically can all be automated, right? If AI can just do all that in seconds, which would take months before, right? Like, would take forever. So the speed and the scale at which research can happen now has for chiropractic, because other professions don't have that problem. They just have a lot of money and a lot of people, right? So they just throw that. They have plenty of resources. We don't. But now it levels the playing field completely for the profession.
And what's great is that, I mean, obviously you were the first participant in the CTC. You were the first participant to offer up the data from the de-identified data from ClinicMind. And what's great is that we've got a lot of people like talk about the differences in chiropractic. I think it's like kind of horseshit. Like, what's really cool is watching chiropractors and chiropractic organizations work together. We've got a wide variety of EHRs in this group working together to make sure that we're elevating the profession. In fact, we have a meeting tomorrow with multiple chiropractic EHRs, all the names that you're familiar with, to talk about the reimbursement challenges that we're dealing with. How do we aggregate that data as well in order to fight these abuses that we're dealing with? Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if I can curse on this podcast, but just consider me dropping the F-bomb right now. I'm just sick of it. I'm like, just sick of it. And we can fix it, and we will fix it.
That's awesome, Jay. Last question, brother.
Yes, sir.
UAC, what's been the benefit to you? We asked you once before on here. So I'd say in the last year, what's been the benefit of UAC for you?
I mean, we just went to Puerto Rico, and it was just, I hadn't been at peace in that way in a very long time. Just being in a space where like you are so connected to the people in your group, and everybody's so diverse and everybody's doing really cool things, but different things. But just being in this space where you can share your victories, you can share your challenges, you can share what's going on in your personal life, and having this level of connection in our profession is just unmatched. So I would say like just having that experience is just amazing. On the business side, it's just transformational. And Alan, I got to give you like a master shout out, because like just being in the accountability group together, and you're always a resource that I reach out to, that I have questions around this or that, and using some of the things that I've learned from your experience and your expertise and what I've heard you say on our accountability calls has literally transformed my business. The things that we talked about in the accountability call yesterday that I thanked you for. But I just, for anybody out there who wants to really connect with an amazing group of people, who wants to transform their business and get to that next level, but they're not really exactly sure how, UAC is the place, man. Like, UAC is just the place. So contact the group and find a way to get to an event, because it is transformational.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. Yeah, I think that's the distinction. It's not coaching. It's a mastermind. It's not even a mastermind. It's a club. It's like just hanging out with people doing neat things. And the three of us do three very different things, but we can come together and talk about our experiences and our love for chiropractic. And there's a synergy in that. So
100%.
Jay, we appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thanks for having me, guys. Great to see y'all.
Thanks, guys.
Bye now.